If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Federoff, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green. So, are they supposed to be eating the props?
I mean, that's kind of the point. We've got some worms here. We've got some different types of feed. So this one's gonna be pretty happy. She got plucked out of the herd.
Yeah, look how soft they are. These are like feathers.
They are feathers.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, they're chicken feathers.
Okay, so what's the story on this coloration? What kind of bird is this?
So this is called a silver-laced Wyandotte.
Oh, that's a pretty dot.
And it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just what they sold me at the store. They were actually pretty scarce on the breeds. I wanted some specific breeds, and they didn't have them. So they did have this one, and yeah, she's eating some worms right now, which is protein. It's good for the shininess and the softness of her feathers.
Is she gonna bite me?
Maybe if you get in the way of the worms.
I'll try not to do that. But these aren't live worms.
No, these are dehydrated. Yeah. These are considered dehydrated mealworms.
Okay. So when they start talking about pecking, this is all about the pecking that they're doing over here, and you tell them smashing into the ground like this. This is their diet?
Well, this is like a snack.
Oh. She's
gorging on it right now because she's got access to the whole thing. Normally you take a scoop and you kind of throw it out into the, she's kind of unsure about coming over here, but.
Now what would we do if we were to put something else? What is that? What else is it? Okay, now she's going to go to something else. What is she going to over here now?
So this is, these are oyster shells, and they don't eat these directly. What you do is you mix them into the food, and the idea is it gives them calcium, and it makes their shells harder.
So this is, oh, they can eat the shells too, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could, but you're supposed to dry them out and dehydrate them and kind of.
So the process.
Yeah.
All right, so now she's eating this stuff. This was the first that she actually came to.
So that's actually chick feed. It's considered chick starter is what it's usually labeled as.
Like for little babies.
Yeah, it's got like vitamins and extra vitamins and minerals and stuff in it. It's supposed to help them get bigger.
Boy, she's just going at it.
Still
must be good.
They like it. You know, they grew up. I've got a bunch of them in there. They grew up, but when they grow up, you switch the feed, but they still really like this one. But this one's not good because it doesn't have as much calcium in it. It's not considered a layer feed.
Okay, now we have something that's white over here. I can't see them eating that.
So the white stuff is called diatomaceous earth,
right,
which you could mix into their feed. You could mix it into their bedding, and what it does is it helps them to ward off mites and different small bugs that might get in the coop. And the idea is that's considered food grade, so it's not bad for them to eat it.
Oh, okay.
And I know that you use that stuff in the garden, right? Is that for the same purpose?
We do it for insect control. It works good on snails and slugs. There you go. It's called a what?
A silver-laced Wyandotte. And if you look really, really closely, and you can only see it in the sun, sometimes when the sun reflects on these little black sections of the feather, you could actually see a very slight tint of green. So.
Okay. Now what's okay? Now we got a little scratching on it.
She's gonna start kicking that up at me right now. So this is how it starts. This is the bedding.
Okay.
This is fresh. This is brand new. This is straw. And what you do is you dump a whole bunch of straw into the coop, and they scratch around on it, they poop on it, they do their business, their feed gets mixed in, and eventually it turns into this stuff.
Okay, which is like almost a compost.
Yeah, she's freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get her off so I could kind of
See what's in there.
show the compost. So this is like a compost. You would typically want to let this sit for a little bit longer than it has been, just so it can kind of break down a little bit further. This has already been here for about 6 months. But yeah, you would mix it into the soil. And
so I know you have a whole bunch of this stuff inside the compost bin as well.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're bringing it down even further.
Yeah, so once I clean out the coop every 6 months or so, I throw it in the compost bin.
Oh, look at you, man. She wants the caviar.
Yeah, it just kind of breaks down a little bit further.
Look at that. She wants the caviar. She don't want all this other stuff.
This is supposedly some of the highest quality compost that you could put in your garden. But you have to let it break down first, because if you just let the chicken poop throw it on your tomatoes, it'll
burn everything.
Yeah, they call it burning.
Yeah, that's really interesting you mentioned that. You know, there's a lot of people who are just big fans of using horse manure. And I was talking to a soil scientist the other day, and he brought up a really interesting point. So when you use cow manure breaks down through the 5 or 7 stomachs that they have. But with horses are fed a lot of antibiotics. They're fed a lot of things that aren't normally done for any other kind of animals. So it's technically, horse manure is not the best. Plus, when horses won't chew it down. This will actually be this big when it comes out of them. So it takes that much further. But look how far these guys will take and break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting over here.
Yeah, they're a pretty cool animal. They eat all kind of nasty stuff and they give you eggs.
Yeah, the eggs things. Because eggs are like what, $4,000 or $5,000 right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So they start out with the chick feed, and then it's like little crumbles, and then you move over to this stuff, which is considered a layer feed. And the layer feed is just what it sounds like. It's good for laying eggs. It's got extra calcium in it, and yeah, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. A lot of people will free range their birds, and they get their protein from grasshoppers and crickets and stuff that they kind of dig up, worms that they dig up from the actual pasture. But obviously we're not doing that here. So we have to help subsidize their protein.
I think this one's being a little rude.
She's mooning the camera. She's mooning it.
So I'll put it right here. It's your shield. There you go.
So the other ones are going to get worms later, but I'll kind of restrict this one because she's pigging out.
So you have different kind of birds.
Yeah.
And they all lay eggs.
Yeah.
And we have the ones in there that are called the Red Island Reds or Rhode Island Reds.
So we've got Rhode Island Reds, which is actually the state bird of Rhode Island, which to me is kind of funny because it's a chicken.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
they're raptors.
It's like normally they're kind of like majestic birds. Like, well, it's like a super impressive, cool bird. But I don't know. The Rhode Island Reds are pretty cool though. They are. They're typically an aggressive bird, but depending on how you raise them, they may or may not end up being docile to each other within the coop around the birds that they grew up with.
So this one seems to like to be pet the most.
This one doesn't get along with anyone.
Oh, is that right?
And I think she finds refuge in
people.
Because every time I open up the window back there, she just jumps up and very, very friendly. Always wants to, you know, check stuff out and kind of see what's going on.
Now, another thing that I like to kind of be worried about, weary about, you notice he's calling them she. All these are she's. That's because roosters are, in most cities, they're actually outlawed because they make so much noise and they're super aggressive, and you can't have a rooster. So when you go through your breeds, you have to make sure that you're going to get them. Now, you can buy the chicken already knowing that it's going to be a female or a male, right?
Usually, the hatcheries can not 100% guess the breed, but they can get pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you do, they call that sexing the chicken. And when they do that, you have to do it like immediately once they're born, because apparently after like 2 or 3 days, it becomes more difficult. So like, for instance, when I bought my second round, because originally we started with 5 Rhode Island Reds, and then I introduced the silver lace Wyandotte and some amber lynx, which is like a white chicken. Not all of them were girls, so I raised them up for a little bit, and then once I realized I had a couple roosters on my hands, I had to get rid of them. So, and it's better because you don't in the urban environment you don't really want to upset the neighbors. So keeping them at a lower decibel level.
So is it easier to get the chickens out? Like, can we get another one out?
We might be able to, but the thing is, most likely it'll be a Rhode Island red, and like I said, they don't really get along with this one. So there's a good chance this one will just take off running.
Look at you.
She might actually take off running right now. She's not usually out here on the table. Table's not normally here. Usually she'll jump up on the window for a couple minutes, and then I'll just pick her up and I'll set her back.
So what's the lifespan of a laying chicken?
So a chicken will live for about 7 years, 7-8 years, but the egg production goes down dramatically after about 2 years. I don't know if it's good for her to be eating this many worms.
No, we can take it.
Okay, so
that doesn't hurt at all. Just flapping his
wings. So
wings.
the trick is you gotta put your hands over the wings.
Oh, so you can
and make her feel safe when you pick her up. Because if she can flop around and get around, then...
Okay, so we could just take and bring her over here. And let's do this. Oh, wait a minute, I'm locking this whole thing up. Boy, these guys look like they want to make a run for it right now. Hey, keep on going. So all the birds just come right up to the thing over there, and they look like they're ready to rock and roll. Oh, look at that. Yeah, they're picking on it. They're going, hey, you got a lot of favoritism over there.
They smell the worms. They smell the worms on her. So
you'll just take just a handful like this and you'll throw them in?
Yeah.
I can do that, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Now, do you take and just chuck them all out?
Take a handful. I wouldn't toss all of those.
No, so you just take like this and do you sprinkle them out?
I sprinkle them out, as far as I could go. Just kind of all over the place, so they all... The idea is you want to coax them into become physically active.
Oh.
So you want them to dig around, and that's another part of it too. When you have this stuff, it turns into this after it gets all the nasty inside of it. But it'll start smelling like ammonia unless you turn it. So you need a certain amount of nitrogen for however much carbon is in your bedding. So like if you don't turn it enough, it'll just kind of build up, the nitrogen will just kind of build up, and it'll start smelling really disgusting. And naturally they want to scratch for worms and do that because in nature they live in the fields and in the forests and stuff. So I don't know if they live in the forest, but a chicken running away from a bobcat. But yeah, so when you sprinkle the worms like that, it encourages them to scratch and kind of turn their own bedding, and then you don't have to go in there as often and turn.
Okay, so I did throw some on top of that clump of hay right there, so you can kind of see them, like the one that just jumped up there.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be scratching around and be part of the activity, yeah?
Yeah, she'll scratch around and kind of tear that little pile down.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about giving me a little bit of a tour of what a chicken coop comprises of, and what people can do and some of the techniques that you put together.
Okay.
All right, let's do that. Okay, now I get to be the cameraman. All right, what are we looking at here?
Chickens.
Chickens. Okay, so
chickens.
So you created this this Taj Mahal over here.
Yeah.
What was the method between your madness?
Well, there's a certain amount of space that's supposed to be allocated for each chicken to live when they're caged in, and I kind of just designed this thing for up to 10 birds, and there's 8 in it right now, so there's a little bit of extra stretching room. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I have a window right here, so when I give them table scraps, because you could throw them all kind of table scraps and chopped up celery or watermelon shells or whatever, and they make excellent garbage disposals. They eat all kinds of stuff. That's why when you have them in the garden, they they'll just eat your vegetables, and that's why a lot of times you want to put up netting around your vegetables.
So you got a lot of activity. This is the one that was with us a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when I had the window open, this one right here jumped up on top.
Yeah, so the white one, the two white ones and the black and white, they came from the same, I don't want to call them a litter because they're chickens, flock, I guess, from the store. But yeah, it's pretty interesting once you kind of just see how they all react to each other. And yeah, they're pretty cool animals. They're pretty cool.
Smile, you're on TV. All right, that's fun. Okay, so I noticed that you have like a lot of acrobatic things going on in here. You got a, I don't know what you would call that over there. It looks like a ladder. Then
So yeah,
that's
a ramp, so they could jump up on the ramp and get into their house. Usually birds are supposed to sleep in the coop at nighttime, so there's a roost in the coop. They want to sleep at the highest point to avoid predators, but I think they realize that they're safe here in this fortress, so they prefer to sleep outside, which I don't have a problem with because I mean this thing is nothing's going to get in here. You know, I'm using 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch hardware cloth, which is going to keep out even smaller bugs.
So that's this stuff right here.
Yeah. I mean, you know, cockroaches aren't even going to get in this thing.
Not that they wouldn't mind them, huh?
Yeah, they like to eat bugs, that's for sure.
Yeah, are they always making a lot of racket?
These ones are pretty quiet. These ones are definitely pretty quiet. Typically they only squawk when they lay eggs and they kind of emerge from the coop and they announce, you know, hey everybody, I laid an egg, and they'll squawk for a few minutes, but for the most part, these chickens in particular are relatively quiet. So this is a feeding system. This is what you see on most farms, something sort of similar to this, where you dump the food on the inside and then the gravity kind of pulls it down. But the problem with these is that depending on how many birds you have and how big the volume of it is, you got to feed them every morning, which is what you're supposed to do. But I don't want to do that, so I set up an automatic feeding and watering system. So, you know, I could take a 2-week vacation if I wanted to, and as long as I've got someone around to collect the eggs for me, it's not a problem. So we've got a silo style feeding system over on the side, as well as a trough that's connected to a float switch for a heat pump air conditioning system that allows the water to go from this tub right here. I think it's a 55-gallon drum. It goes underground and then it goes along there, and there's a trough over there that they drink from, and it's great because as soon as they drink, you know, a certain couple centimeters or whatever, it triggers the float switch, and then it slowly just refills, so it's always full. So here's where you get the eggs. There are no eggs in here currently, but the idea is they jump up in here into these little boxes, and they like their privacy. So here's one coming to check us out, see what's going on over here. And yeah, they do their thing. They lay their eggs, and
how many eggs do you get a day?
That's it. Right now I'm getting 7 to 8. I think the 8th one is finally starting to...
Well, these guys are at a different eating area.
Finally starting to lay. So these are the silos I was talking about. It's just a 4-inch PVC pipe that goes down into one of these, I don't know if this is considered a T or a Y. I guess it's a Y. But yeah, you've got a cap up here. You just take off the cap and dump a bunch of food in there, and you know,
centrifugal force.
That's pretty much how it goes. Some people say that you could overfeed your chickens, but using the organic feed, I feel like they regulate themselves pretty well. They're all pretty healthy. You know, if I notice that there's an obesity problem that's starting, then I'll definitely address that. But so far I've been pretty fortunate. Nothing outrageous has happened quite yet.
Now I've noticed that you've changed this up quite a bit because you used to have plants in here.
Yeah.
You have other things that are going on.
Yeah, I'm constantly in here doing stuff. Every couple of weeks I'll I'll jump in here and I'll rearrange the ladder over there, or I'll build a new perch, do something.
Hey, look at that. Man, they know their food.
Yeah, they like these worms.
Yeah, one of the things I remember was that you, when you were building this thing, you went really down deep in the ground and you put metal down there.
Yeah, I put hardware cloth going 18 inches into the ground because this area specifically, we don't get too many coyotes and things like that, but they are in the area, so just as a precaution. Just as a precaution.
And you're not afraid to be in there?
Oh, I'm terrified. No, they're good. They're good. They're intimidating until you realize that they're called chickens for a reason. They're definitely more scared of you than you are of them. Most of the time on a farm, you can't just subtly walk up to a chicken and pick it up. They'll kind of run around and try to evade you.
A little skittish, huh?
Yeah. So
that is too fun. So all these chickens in here, for the most part, they're about a year and a half old?
The reds are about a year, and the other ones are roughly 6 months.
Okay.
4 to 6 months. So, and there's different sections of the coop. You have like the main straw area, which is the bedding. That's kind of where all the composting happens. And then you've got this over here, needs to be cleaned out right now, but this is a dust bath. Birds need to cover themselves in dust, and it's how they get clean. I mentioned the diatomaceous earth earlier, and you mix that into the dirt with sand, or with, you can use firewood ash, and the idea is just to really help them dry their feathers out. And I've got actual sand up top over here just to change it up a little bit. So
now I noticed that there's not a horrific smell.
No, that's because you're supposed to go in there once in a while, and you get your pitchfork and your rake, and you turn all the bedding, and the more frequently you turn it, some people will do it every day. I don't. I do it usually 1 to 2 times a week, but as long as you don't get the funky smell, that's...
And I noticed that there's really not hardly any flies either. And today's a pretty warm day. You would think that...
Right now there's no flies. I added one of those fly tapes to the inside, and it's working, kind of.
That's one of these things right here.
Yeah, those are really inexpensive. They cost, I don't know, $3 for 10 of them or something. So...
Well, there you go. So this is urban farming at its best right here. People are really getting into the urban farm, sustainability, homesteading. I've actually taught a few classes on homesteading at the home shows that I attend, so you can go to the website to find out when that's at. And this is just really kind of a lot of fun to see a lot of activity out here. And thank you very much for sharing your birds with us.
Yeah, no problem. I think everyone should own at least 1 or 2 chickens.
Yeah, don't go crazy.
At least 2.
Is it expensive?
They don't like to be alone. Get at least 2.
So are these expensive to hang into?
Not really. If you feed them your kitchen scraps and all that. I mean, I've got 8 of them, feeding them organic feed, and it's maybe $7 to $10 a chicken per month. So it's not crazy, and you don't have to give them organic feed. You know, you can give them the cheap stuff, and it'll be a third of that price. So, yeah, if you do it on a super strict budget, I mean, you can get away relatively inexpensive.
And the egg shells, they're so thick.
Yeah, they're definitely thicker. You know, it's like any animal. You give it a better diet, it's going to have a better life. It'll be happier. Everything it does is going to be more nutrient dense, and that's kind of what happens with the eggs.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, thank you very much. All right, ladies, we will see you later. Thanks for joining me on another excursion of Things Green. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain so you can become exposed to a green lifestyle inside and outside of the home and community, all on your terms. Join me next time right here as we help you with things green.